We expect you to function as a team. I'll say this only once. A team is not a team if you don't give a damn about one another. Remember that, we will accomplish our objective. Our only objective, which is to win.
Hey everybody, he's the B-52 navigator from Dr. Strangelove. Wait a minute, hold on. He's the Darth Vader voice? No, that ain't it either. He's the neighbor from The Sandlot? No, that ain't it. I'm CIA Director James Greer from the Tom Clancy, Jack Ryan movies and books. No, that ain't it. Look, obviously the theme here is the late great James Earl Jones, who recently passed away. This is our tribute for this week's show. One of the all-time iconic voices and actors in cinema. Also King Mufasa in the Lion King movies. If you were either growing up in the 90s or had kids in the 90s, you watched that movie. You felt it when King Mufasa died. I did. My kids were bawling. For many of you, that was probably your first real encounter with death.
You were bawling, Ted. Don't just say
I was not. I don't cry. I'm a man. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm actually 50, so I'm a lot older than that. But I don't cry. But I mean, like, that was like a moment. It was like a cartoon, but it was like a moment. And it's because the way James Earl Jones brought life to every single character he played. May he rest in peace.
I got a little piece of James Earl Jones trivia for you two to try to answer if we got a minute here.
Let's do it. We do.
And this blew my mind when I was looking up his bio the other day. James Earl Jones was the first person to do a celebrity spot on which television program?
Can you give me a year?
It was, I can't remember the exact year. It was in the early 70s, I believe.
Gilligan's Island.
Nope.
Laugh Band.
Nope.
I don't know.
Any other guesses?
That's all I got.
Sesame Street.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Get out of
Wow.
Yep, he was the first celebrity to ever do a spot on Sesame Street, which was I thought was pretty impressive. I mean, he was on there a few times, but yeah, he was the first celebrity to do a guest spot on the old 1, 2, 3.
Do you remember the old Late Night with David Letterman show?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When it was still on NBC before he hopped over to CBS, he would do the weekly or the nightly top 10 list.
Right.
Absolutely.
He had James Earl Jones. It was like the top 10 things that sound cool when James Earl Jones says them.
Top 10 effects of Y2K. Here we go. Number 10.
Stuff's gonna explode.
Yeah. Number 9.
The Big Dipper will fall out of the sky and kill a guy in Sweden.
Number 8.
Everyone's voice will suddenly sound exactly like mine.
Number 7.
Michael Jackson will finally look in the mirror and say, "My God, what the hell is wrong with me?"
If you can find that on YouTube, it is hysterical. It's just absolutely hysterical. And we should play number 2 because it rolls right into what Toonsa says. I know she's busy tonight. She can't hop on and say hi, but it rolls right in perfectly with what Toonsa would say.
Meow, 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 meow.
Chris, Drew, how are you guys doing tonight?
My little thought on James Earl Jones, I made a tail of the tape real quick. Let me read through it. Kind of a box score. 84 films. 84, including Conan the Barbarian, Field of Dreams, the one you mentioned.
Right. Yeah.
50 TV series, including Roots and some other ones. 26 TV films. 12 times he was a narrator, including Mufasa, The Simpsons, Darth Vader. 36 theater productions, and 6 voiceovers on video games. That is 208 things that the guy did. And it might be more. I'm just going off the list I came up with. 208 things. And he is what John Facenda was to NFL films. James Earl Jones was to film and movies. Glad to be doing a little shout out for him tonight.
And one of the few guys to ever accomplish what is known in the entertainment world as the EGOT, the EGOT, which is someone who's won an Emmy Award, a Grammy Award, an Oscar, and a Tony Award.
Wow.
He had the full range, man.
His narration is Terrence Mann. in Field of Dreams just
Yes.
gives me chills. If you've never been to the Field of Dreams, it's in Dyersville, Iowa, where my mom and my stepfather currently, it's like 3 miles from where they live. And it's just, people will come, Ray, for reasons they can't even fathom. That scene at the end, where Ray Kinsella says, "Hey, Dad, you want to have a catch?"
Catch.
Right.
Like I said, I don't cry, but that's about as close as I come to crying in a movie. And I've seen that movie 100 times if I've seen it once. And that is about as perfectly cast movie in that scene. And James Earl Jones, well, how come I can't come? Well, you weren't invited. And he walks off into the cornfield. I mean, it's just perfect, man.
I like the part when he went to see him in Boston, or he was trying to see him. And James Earl Jones was just like pissed.
It's not a gun at your finger. All right. Anyway, so James Earl Jones, rest in peace, sir. You brought us all so many great memories. Before we get going, I want to talk about Purple Plain Forms, purpleplainforms.com, our home away from home on the internet. Head on over there, set up an account, start talking with some really smart Vikings fans. And folks, enter their Pick 6 contest. You can win some great prizes. Very easy to enter. The rules are very simple, but it's very difficult to win. If you're hungry for Vikings news, whet your appetite over at the Daily Norseman. That's dailynorseman.com, run by our own one and only Admiral Greer, Christopher Gates, who's been running that site. He started it up in 2006, and he's still there. You'll pry that website from his cold, dead hands, baby. dailynorseman.com. Last week, we kicked off our Nobody Cares About Your Fantasy Team contest.
Here it comes, Chris.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And I won, baby.
Well done, Ted Glover.
Get in, losers. Get on board the winning team.
Glad I took that Marvin Harrison Jr. That proved profitable.
And how do you know we got the winning team this week? Because, Ruby, roll the video and then put up our teams for this week. As always, it is a standard PPR scoring format every week. This year, Drew, Chris, Ruby, and I will pick one quarterback, one running back, two wide receivers, and one tight end. Every week, you will pick the team you think has the best chance of winning. Put your entry in the comments below here. Don't hit us up on our Facebook page. Don't hit us up on X or Twitter or whatever Elon Musk is calling it. Every time we pick a player, we can only pick that player one time throughout the course of the season. So it's done. So if we don't pick a player and that player gets hurt for the season, too bad for us. We can't use them. We don't know the picks beforehand when we send the picks in, and we don't pick the players that are playing on the Thursday night game because that might give one team that you folks might pick sort of an unfair advantage in case they go off and get like 40 or 50 points or whatever the case may be. The big change to this year, in years past, we've given you 3 points for first place, 2 points for second place, 1 point for third. This year, you get all the points that you would get in a standard PPR format week if you play fantasy football. So, for example, if you pick my team and I score 75 points in 1 week, and then you pick Chris's team and they score 75 points in week 2, you have 150 points throughout 2 weeks. And that keeps going throughout the season. Conversely, if you pick like Drew's team and they only score 10 points, and then Ruby's team and they score like 300 points, then you have 310 points. It gives you a chance to catch up if you kind of fall behind. Whereas in past seasons, if you weren't doing so well, it was kind of hard to catch up. So this year, you can kind of fall back in the pack pretty fast. So standard PPR scoring format all season, and you accrue points throughout the year. You can find the leaderboard throughout the season on VikingsReport.com. Ruby will keep that updated for us. And we've got a really awesome prize for our grand prize winner this year. It is a Justin Jefferson jersey. Put it up on the board for our championship. Second place is a nice Stephon Diggs Vikings jersey as well. We got some Vikings news, and we're going to hop into our preview. A couple of significant things that happened in terms of personnel. The Vikings signed Harrison Phillips. He got a 2-year contract extension worth up to $19 million, $13 million guaranteed. So he's locked in with the Vikings through at least the 2026 season. Man, I thought that was a great move. Kind of a no-brainer. Still looking for guys like Cam Bynum to get a contract extension, Chris, but great dude off the field, great player on the field, and coming off of the Giants game, great extension.
Absolute restaurant quality human being off the field with all his charitable works. He's got 3 different branches of his Harrison's Playmakers charity, which is pretty awesome. They do a lot of good things for youth with disabilities. But yeah, obviously the big thing is how he's performing on the field. He's kind of the anchor of the front seven. He has been since he signed with the Vikings ahead of the 2022 season. And yeah, it was really kind of a no-brainer given the Vikings kind of depth chart right now at the defensive line spot to make sure he's a part of the team for at least the next couple of years. And dudes like that play defensive line can play a long time, so it might not be the last extension he gets with the Vikings either. So we'll have to see how this plays out for him.
Drew, you happy with the extension on Phillips?
I am. Good off the field, on the field, good teammate, good locker room guy. The thing I like best about him is that he seems to be able to play every snap. He's not play one game and you lose him for 2, and then you play his 2 games and you lose him for 4. He seems to be pretty solid, pretty durable. You need that along your defensive line. I think he and Tiller and Bullard, I think he's gathered them all together and say, people are down on us. We're going to show people that the interior of this line rocks. I mean, he's not elite, but how many people have elite guys in the middle of the field? I think he holds his own. He's above average, and I think he's worth every penny. And he had an outstanding game week 1. He had a great game.
Yep.
You can't have elite guys at every single position. You just simply can't afford them, for one. But you have to have guys that can play at every single position. And you have to have guys that can fill a specific role at every single position. And Phillips does the latter very well. And like you said, you can't have a dude that can play 2 games and then is out for the rest of the year, signs with Detroit, then plays 1 game, and then now is out indefinitely. Rhymes with Marcus Mavenport. Just saying. And Phillips is one of those locker room guys that you really like to have because he helps the team chemistry. I mean, he's voted a team captain for obvious reasons. He was the Vikings nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. I mean, he's just one of those dudes that you want to cheer for. I mean, from the minute he came to Minnesota, he engaged with Minnesota fans on social media. I mean, he's just a great dude on and off the field. So it was a no-brainer signing for me. A couple other moves and a big move big news coming out of Santa Clara, out on the left coast. It looks like Christian McCaffrey has Achilles tendonitis, which sounds like excruciatingly painful. And I think the league is looking into it because it was an injury that was not reported prior to the Monday night game against the Jets. So they might get penalized for that, as they say. But it is looking not good for him playing Sunday against the Vikings, but also for the Vikings. Jordan Addison left the Giants game with an ankle injury. Bad news, it's an ankle injury. Good news, it was the other ankle, not the ankle he injured in training camp that he healed rather quickly from. But Darren Doogie Wolfson of Score North said it would be a quote-unquote surprise if Addison plays this weekend. So
neither one of those guys is playing.
I don't think so. But
on
the heels of that move with Addison, or that news with Addison, the Vikings, they signed wide receiver Deshaun Jones to the practice squad and released cornerback Jalen Williams from the practice squad, which would seem to me they would be making a move to elevate a player from the practice squad to the active roster. Chris, do you have any idea who that would be?
No, I mean, it seems a little strange. I mean, I don't think they necessarily have to, because if you think about it, Tristan Jackson was inactive for week 1. So, I mean, they already have a wide receiver on the roster that they could activate to take Addison's spot. If you want to elevate a guy for just in case purposes, I mean, Lucky Jackson's on the practice squad and Deshaun Jones, and I think they have at least one more wide receiver on the practice squad as well. I mean, it might be an indication of something. I mean, like Drew's already said, I don't think Addison's going to be out there on Sunday. It's going to be Justin Jefferson and Jalen Naylor and probably Tristan Jackson and Brandon Powell. So Yeah, I don't think it's a real harbinger of anything like that, but we'll see.
So right now in the active roster, the Vikings have Addison, Tristan Jackson, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Naylor, Brandon Powell, and Trent Sherfield Jr. And if they deactivate Addison, yeah, they activate Tristan Jackson. That would give them Jackson, Jefferson, Naylor, Powell, and Sherfield Sr. for the 5 wide receivers for Sunday.
The only thing I got on Deshaun Jones is Vegas has him for a prop bet. If you put $5 on that guy to catch one pass, you get $8 million payout. So I know there's some gamblers out there. Some gamblers want to throw some money
On
down.
the other hand, if you put $5 on him to catch one pass, you will lose $5. So there's that.
That's the Vikings news this week.
All right, I'm cooler than you are. Why don't you fix your little problems and light this candle?
He's right. Let's light this candle.
He surely is. Light the candle.
Yes. Resume the countdown.
I got an intangible for you. Sam Darnold running the practice squad for the Niners last year. Standing on the sideline for the Niners, which is a lot different than playing in games. He knows what Shanahan likes to do. First down, scheme-wise, game plan-wise, he's right in there. He was listening the whole year. So if he can give a couple tidbits to Brian Flores, all the power to him. The Niners on a short week, being they played Monday, traveling east. I know it's not that big of a deal, and people say it means nothing, but the statistics mean different.
Yes.
That is my intangible. Flying across the country, playing in a dome, which Shanahan hates to do. I think intangibles Vikings is the call.
Chris?
I kind of agree with Drew. Got some other stuff. Obviously, this is the home opener for the Vikings. The home fans are going to be, shall we say, lubricated a little bit for this one. Not I don't know if it's Jared Allen telling them to get lubricated levels yet or anything. One statistic, I don't know how much bearing it has on this game or anything like that. The last time the 49ers won in Minneapolis was 1992. It's been 32 years since they won a game in the cities. They beat the Vikings 20-17 back in December of '92. They haven't won in Minnesota since then. I don't know how much bearing that has on this one, but home opener, crowd's going to be going insane. Drew already talked about how it's going to be a short week for the Niners. They got to travel. Yeah, I think the Vikings get the intangibles check mark in this one.
I'm getting to the Vikings as well, and I mentioned this one earlier, Sam Darnold. He's playing with a chip on his shoulder, and everybody thinks he sucks. Even when he was signed by the Vikings, a lot of fans thought, Sam Darnold, good God. That was a clear indication the Vikings were going to draft somebody, and Sam Darnold was a caretaker guy at best, and they were going to move on from Sam Darnold as quickly as they could and move to their quarterback of the future, whoever that was going to be when they drafted. Turned out it was going to be J.J. McCarthy. And then, J.J. McCarthy's out for the year with a knee injury. Well, that turned out to be kind of a blessing for Sam Darnold for this year because now he doesn't have to look over his shoulder and wonder, well, if I have a bad game, are they going to pull me for J.J. McCarthy? This is now for 2024 Sam Darnold's team. The Vikings almost unanimously voted him a team captain. So there's something this team likes about Sam Darnold, and he showed that on Sunday. He's got a lot to prove to the NFL. He's got a lot to prove to San Francisco because he played with them last year, and he's got a lot to prove to himself. And I think he's going to do it on Sunday. I'm kind of starting to buy in a little bit. And I think you're starting to see that if you read social media. A lot of the national people that cover the NFL nationally said, hey, nice game from Sam Darnold. Can he keep doing this? I like to use the term house money. Everybody thought the Vikings are going to suck this year. So I saw one prediction where they thought they were only going to win 3 or 4 games all year. I saw when the first Vegas odds came out, they were only favored in maybe 2 or 3 games when they first came out. All 3 of us said they're going to be a lot better than everybody thought they were, even with Sam Darnold. And we even caveated, even with Sam Darnold, because that was kind of saying because Sam Darnold sucks. Sam Darnold is going to prove a lot of people wrong this year. The Minnesota Vikings are going to prove a lot of people wrong this year. And Drew, this ties into what you said. Kevin O'Connell is going to go for broke. Brian Flores is going to go for broke. And when the Minnesota Vikings win by 2 scores on Sunday, plus.
Woo! Woo!
2 scores plus.
What?
People are going to go, holy, because I don't, look, Brock Purdy puts up numbers. Brock Purdy's been to the Super Bowl, but you put Brock Purdy under pressure, he folds like a 2-bit criminal under intense police interrogation, man.
I wonder about you sometimes, Henry. You may fold under questioning.
He does. He just does.
The one thing kind of piggyback on what Ted said with Sam Darnold looking to prove people wrong. The Vikings had one of the best performances of week 1, team-wise, just with the final margin of victory and how much better they looked. And all week, all this team is going to be hearing about and all they've heard about so far is, yeah, but it was the Giants.
Yep.
Yeah, the Giants suck. Yeah,
Yep.
Daniel Jones is terrible.
Yep.
If they go into the Metrodome and they face down the defending NFC champions and come out with a victory, people are going to have to start taking this team seriously all of a sudden.
They won't, but you're right.
They should, but yeah.
Here's my summary on the whole thing. The Niners want to do this. They want to run the football and open it up for Deebo Samuel to do his weird trick plays. They want to play solid defense, but they want to beat you that way. McCaffrey's not there. They're going to try to do it with this guy. If the Vikings shut the run down, there's their first success move. Make Brock Purdy beat you. I'm just worried about the Vikings secondary dealing with all the weapons the Niners have. They hit you with Kittle, Juszczyk, Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and even that Jennings guy. They come at you from all sorts of angles. The Vikings got their work cut out for them. I still think they're going to need to be a +2 in the turnover ratio. They're going to need some turnovers. Hopefully they can keep the penalties down. I think if you take the Vikings with 6, which is the line right now, you're a sure winner. But I think this is a field goal game. I don't know if the Vikings can play a perfect game. I picked this as a loss in my preseason. When we did the preseason schedule, I got to stick to it. I hope I'm wrong. And the Niners are going to have to make some mistakes in this game to lose this game.
And Flores is going to force them into it. I'm telling you, man. I just think the Vikings are a lot better this year, especially on defense, and I don't think the 49ers are as good. I don't think the 49ers are going to the Super Bowl this year. And I think a lot of it is going to be internally put on them by themselves because they've been to the Super Bowl twice in 3 years. How many NFC Championship games they've been to in like the last 5, and they haven't gotten over the hump. Historically, if you haven't by now as a head coach with that team, this is Kyle Shanahan's first head coaching gig, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
If you haven't won a Super Bowl by now with your team in this time period, you're not going to. And guys are getting more expensive. This is it. If they don't do it this year, they're not going to be able to afford to keep all these guys together next year, and they're going to have to start breaking up the band. And the pressure is going to start mounting, and it's going to start happening on Sunday when they lose to the Minnesota Vikings by 2 scores.
Ray, people will come, Ray.
And they'll watch the game. People will come, Ray.
You're broke, Ray.